The Seminole Nation, known for its fierce resistance during the Seminole Wars in Florida, found itself once again caught in a complex and violent struggle during the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. Divided by geography, alliances, and politics, the Seminole people participated in the war on both the Union and Confederate sides, with devastating consequences for their nation. Background: from Florida to Indian Territory. By the time the Civil War began, many Seminole had already been forcibly removed from their ancestral lands in Florida to Indian Territory, modern-day Oklahoma, under U.S. policies of Indian removal. However, a smaller group of Seminole remained in Florida, continuing to live in relative isolation in the Everglades. The Seminole in Indian Territory were part of the larger group of native nations, collectively known as the Five Civilized Tribes, that were pressured into aligning with the Confederacy. Like other tribes, the Seminole were offered promises of autonomy, protection, and representation by Confederate agents. But the Seminole were deeply divided on whether to support the Confederacy or remain loyal to the Union. A nation divided. The divide among the Seminole was both political and personal. The nation split into two factions, one led by Chief John Jumper, who supported the Confederacy, and another led by Chief Billy Bowlegs and later by Halleck Tustenuggee, who remained loyal to the Union. These divisions mirrored broader splits among other native nations and would lead to internal conflict and suffering. John Jumper's pro-Confederate faction signed a treaty with the Confederacy in 1861 and provided troops to fight in various campaigns, including the Choctaw and Chickasaw Mounted Rifles. Seminole soldiers under Confederate command primarily operated in Indian Territory, engaging in skirmishes and patrols alongside other Native and Confederate units. Meanwhile, Union-aligned Seminole, including those who fled southward to Kansas to escape Confederate control, joined the Union's Indian Home Guard regiments. These troops were composed of various Native American groups loyal to the Union and fought to reclaim Indian Territory and protect pro-Union tribal members. Impact and suffering. The Seminole people suffered deeply during the Civil War. Those who fled to Kansas endured harsh winters, disease, and starvation. Others in Indian Territory faced violence, displacement, and the destruction of their homes. As battles raged across the region, tribal communities were torn apart by both military conflict and civil strife. By the end of the war, the Seminole population had been devastated. Tribal governance had collapsed in many areas, and the nation was left to rebuild under extremely difficult circumstances. Post-war Reconstruction. After the Confederate defeat, the U.S. government imposed harsh terms on all native tribes that had allied with the South. The Seminole were forced to sign a Reconstruction Treaty in 1866, which required them to emancipate any enslaved people they held, grant those freedmen citizenship within the tribe, and cede portions of their land. These conditions sowed further tension and legal challenges that would persist for generations. The Seminole who had remained in Florida avoided much of the direct violence of the Civil War, but they continued to live in isolation and were largely disconnected from the broader conflict. However, the long-term effects of removal and war further marginalized both Florida and Oklahoma Seminole communities in the post-war United States. Legacy. The Seminole involvement in the Civil War highlights the difficult choices native nations were forced to make in a conflict not of their own making. Torn between survival and sovereignty and facing pressure from both Union and Confederate forces, the Seminoles split their loyalties and paid a heavy price. Today, the story of the Seminole in the Civil War stands as a testament to their resilience and the enduring challenges Native American nations faced during one of the most turbulent periods in American history.